My sister got a brand new laptop for her graduation. Mom said, "You're going to do great things." I opened my gift and found a stack of cleaning supplies. Dad smiled. "It's time you help around the house." My sister snickered. I packed my bags and left. A few days later, my guardians called in panic. "Where are you? Come home." I, 19M, never thought a graduation gift would be the final straw that broke my relationship with my family. But here we are. The day started like any other June morning. My sister and I had both graduated, her from high school, me from community college with my associate's degree. 2 years of grinding through classes while working part-time at a local grocery store had finally paid off. I was proud of what I accomplished, especially considering I'd done it mostly on my own. Mom had been building up the suspense about our graduation gifts for weeks. She kept saying how special they were going to be, how much thought she'd put into them. My sister bounced around the house with excitement, already planning what she'd do with whatever surprise awaited her. When the moment finally came, we gathered in the living room. 2 wrapped boxes sat on the coffee table, one significantly larger than the other. Mom beamed as she handed my sister the bigger box first. The wrapping paper came off to reveal a brand new MacBook Pro, the kind that costs more than I made in 3 months at my job. Mom's face lit up as she watched my sister's reaction. She told her she was going to do great things, that this laptop would help her succeed in college. My sister squealed and hugged the box like it contained the secrets of the universe. Then came my turn. The smaller box felt light in my hands, almost hollow. I unwrapped it carefully, trying to maintain some optimism despite the sinking feeling in my stomach. Inside were cleaning supplies, toilet bowl cleaner, scrub brushes, rubber gloves, and a pack of sponges. Dad's smile was the worst part. He looked genuinely pleased as he explained that it was time I helped around the house more, that I needed to learn responsibility and contribute to the family. My sister's snicker from across the room felt like a knife twisting in my chest. I sat there holding a bottle of bathroom cleaner while my sister updated her social media with photos of her new laptop. The contrast wasn't lost on anyone in the room, but nobody seemed to think anything was wrong with it. This was just how things were in our house. My sister got opportunities, I got obligations. The pattern had been there for years, but I'd always told myself it would change eventually. When I was younger, my sister got dance lessons while I was told we couldn't afford activities for both of us. When she wanted a car for her 16th birthday, they bought her a used Honda. When I turned 16, they told me I could save up for my own. When she struggled with math, they hired a tutor. When I struggled with chemistry, they told me to figure it out. But this graduation gift situation crystallized everything. Here I was, the first person in our family to graduate from college, even if it was just community college. I'd worked my ass off, maintained good grades, and paid for most of it myself. And my reward was cleaning supplies. I thanked them politely and went to my room. The rational part of my brain tried to make excuses for them. Maybe they thought I needed practical gifts. Maybe they were trying to teach me something. But deep down, I knew the truth. I simply wasn't the priority in this family. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling and made a decision that had been building for months. I was done being the afterthought, the one who got the leftovers of their attention and resources. I was 19 years old, had a job, and my associate's degree. I could make it on my own. The next morning, while everyone was still asleep, I quietly packed my belongings. 2 suitcases and a backpack held everything that mattered to me. I left a note on my desk explaining that I was moving out and would be in touch when I was ready. I didn't want a dramatic confrontation or tears. I just wanted to leave with whatever dignity I had left. My friend Jake had been looking for a roommate for his apartment across town. I'd mentioned it casually a few weeks earlier, not seriously considering it at the time. But when I called him that morning, he was more than happy to have me move in immediately. The rent was reasonable, and I could walk to work from there. For 3 days, my phone stayed silent. Part of me had expected them to call immediately, worried about where I was. But apparently, they either hadn't noticed I was gone or didn't care enough to reach out. I threw myself into work, picking up extra shifts and trying to build a routine in my new life. Then, on Thursday evening, my phone exploded with calls and texts. Mom called first, her voice frantic as she asked where I was and demanded I come home immediately. Dad called next, using his stern voice to tell me I was being ridiculous and needed to return right away. Even my sister sent a text, though hers was more annoyed than concerned. I let them all go to voicemail initially. When I finally listened to the messages, the panic in their voices was obvious. Mom was crying, talking about how worried they were and how they'd been looking everywhere for me. Dad sounded angry but also scared, demanding explanations and threatening consequences if I didn't come home. But it was the fifth call that made everything clear. Mom called again, this time with a different tone entirely. She explained that they'd just received a call from the community college about a scholarship opportunity. Apparently, my academic performance had caught the attention of someone in the administration, and they were recommending me for a full ride to the state university. The scholarship coordinator had been trying to reach me at home for days. When they couldn't get through, they'd called my parents to ask about my contact information. That's when my family realized I wasn't just staying at a friend's house for a few days. I was actually gone. Suddenly, their gifted child who'd been worthy of cleaning supplies was looking like he might have some value after all. The irony wasn't lost on me. For years, they'd treated my academic achievements as less important than my sister's potential. Now that someone else recognized my worth, they were scrambling to get me back. I called Mom back that evening. She immediately launched into apologies and explanations. She claimed they'd always been proud of me, that the cleaning supplies were meant to be a joke gift before they gave me my real present. She insisted they'd been planning to surprise me with money for university, but wanted to teach me humility first. The lies came so easily to her that I almost believed them myself. But I'd lived in that house for 19 years. I knew the difference between their genuine excitement for my sister's achievements and their polite acknowledgement of mine. There had been no secret second gift waiting for me. Dad got on the phone next, his tone completely different from the angry voicemails he'd left earlier. He talked about family and responsibility, about how they needed me at home. He promised things would be different, that they'd support my education moving forward. My sister even took the phone for a minute, apologizing for laughing at my gift. She claimed she'd thought it was funny at the time, but realized now how hurtful it must have been. Her apology felt rehearsed, like something our parents had coached her to say. I listened to all of it without saying much. When they finished their speeches, I told them I needed time to think. The scholarship was real. I'd already spoken to the coordinator myself and confirmed the details. It was an incredible opportunity that would cover tuition, room, and board at a university I'd only dreamed of attending. But accepting it didn't mean I had to go back home. I was legally an adult, financially independent, and perfectly capable of managing my own affairs. The scholarship coordinator had been impressed by my maturity and self-reliance when we spoke. She'd mentioned that many students struggled with the transition to independence, but I seemed to have it figured out already. Over the next few days, the calls continued. Mom tried guilt, talking about how empty the house felt without me. Dad tried authority, insisting I was still their responsibility. My sister tried manipulation, claiming she missed having me around and that things weren't the same without me. But I'd already started building a new life. Work was going well, and my manager had hinted at a promotion opportunity. My living situation with Jake was comfortable and drama-free. For the first time in years, I felt like I was in control of my own destiny. The turning point came when I ran into Mrs. Chun, my high school guidance counselor, at the grocery store where I worked. She'd heard about my scholarship and wanted to congratulate me. When she asked about my plans, I mentioned that I was living independently now and managing everything myself. Her reaction surprised me. Instead of concern or disapproval, she looked impressed. She told me that most students my age weren't mature enough to handle that level of responsibility. She said it showed character and determination that would serve me well in university and beyond. That conversation made me realize something important. My family's lack of faith in me had actually forced me to develop skills and independence that most of my peers didn't have. While my sister was still relying on our parents for everything, I'd learned to manage my own finances, maintain a household, and balance work with education. When I finally called my parents back, I had a proposal. I would maintain a relationship with them, but on my terms. I wouldn't be moving back home, and I wouldn't be accepting any financial support from them. The scholarship would cover my university expenses, and I'd continue working to support myself. Mom cried and begged me to reconsider. Dad threatened and demanded. My sister alternated between apologies and accusations. But I held firm. I'd proven to myself that I could succeed without their help, and I wasn't going to give up that independence now. The months that followed weren't easy. There were times when I questioned my decision, especially during stressful periods at work or when university applications became overwhelming. But each challenge I overcame reinforced my confidence in my choice. My relationship with my family slowly evolved into something healthier. Without the daily dynamics of living together, we could interact as adults rather than falling into old patterns. My parents began to see me as capable and independent rather than as the child who needed constant guidance. The scholarship came through exactly as promised. When I started university that fall, I was one of the few freshmen who already knew how to manage their own laundry, budget their money, and balance multiple responsibilities. My roommates struggled with homesickness and independence while I thrived. My sister started college the same semester, armed with her fancy laptop and our parents' full financial support. She called home crying almost every week, overwhelmed by the freedom and responsibility. The contrast between our experiences was stark. She'd been given everything but hadn't learned how to handle it, while I'd been given nothing but had developed the skills to succeed anyway. Looking back, those cleaning supplies were actually the perfect graduation gift. Not because I needed to learn how to clean, I'd been doing my own laundry and chores for years, but because they finally showed me clearly where I stood in my family's priorities and gave me the motivation to change my situation. The revenge wasn't dramatic or destructive. It was quiet and constructive. I succeeded despite their lack of support, not because of it. I built a life that didn't depend on their approval or resources. And in doing so, I forced them to confront the reality of how they'd treated me and what they'd almost lost. Today, my relationship with my family is better than it's ever been, precisely because I'm no longer dependent on them for validation or support. They respect my independence because I demanded it, not because they freely gave it. And every achievement I unlock feels genuinely mine, earned through my own effort and determination. Sometimes the best revenge is simply refusing to accept the limitations others try to place on you. Those cleaning supplies taught me that lesson better than any laptop ever could have.